Election day in the US is now just 24 hours away. The question on everyone's mind is this: will America deliver a clear and decisive verdict this time? Or will we see delays in vote counting, confusion, chaos, conspiracy theories, lawsuits in various courts, and political and social instability of the kind we witnessed in 2020, or perhaps worse? Most pollsters have predicted that it will be a very tight election where it could take days, if not weeks, for a winner to be declared. And in the end, the victory margin could be wafer thin. Of course, polls can go wrong. But one thing that's unmistakable is this: the 2024 presidential election is one of the most consequential elections in American history, and the stakes for the American people and indeed the world couldn't be higher. Pundits say it's not the popular vote, but the electoral college votes that will determine the winner. And in the end, it all comes down to the 7 key battleground states. These are the blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan and Wisconsin, and the Sunbelt states of Nevada, North Carolina, Arizona and Georgia. So far, most polls had given a marginal edge to Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris while predicting a neck-and-neck race. Now, one particular poll has claimed that Republican candidate Donald Trump is leading in all the 7 swing states. According to the latest Atlas Intel poll, 49% of the respondents said they would vote for Trump, and the Republicans hold a 1.8% vote lead over Harris. The survey conducted on the first 2 days of November included about 2,500 likely voters in the US, the majority of them female. Another survey of swing states has revealed that the Republican nominee is favored to win in all the swing states. In Arizona, Trump holds his widest margin with 51.9% to 45.1% lead over Harris. In Nevada, 51.4% of the voters chose Trump, while 45.9% chose Harris. In North Carolina, Trump leads by 50.4% of votes, while Harris gets 46.8% of the vote share. This is according to one particular poll, and as we said, polls can go wrong. In the US, presidential elections are shaped by 3 categories of states: the red states, the blue states and the swing states. Red states are those where Republicans have consistently won since 1980, while blue states are where Democrats have dominated since 1992. These states are generally considered predictable in terms of their electoral outcomes, barring a few exceptions. It is the swing states where the battle between Republicans and Democrats is often extremely close, with winners ending up with razor-thin margins. For instance, in the 2020 presidential election, Joe Biden won Arizona by just 10,000 votes. A Reuters Ipsos poll published last week on the 29th of October showed Kamala Harris leading over Donald Trump, with the Democrat ahead by just a single percentage point over the Republican, 44% to 43%. But fact is, Harris's lead over Trump has steadily shrunk since late September, after the initial boost she received amid the euphoria over the vice president replacing President Biden on the Democratic ticket. At the moment, it is anybody's election, if polls are to be believed. And that is triggering immense anxiety and nervousness, not just in the 2 rival camps, but in fact among Americans throughout the country. More than 75 million voters in the US have already cast their ballots. They're now facing an election that could profoundly change the country and the world, and that has people on both sides fearing for their way of life should their candidate lose. And the public utterances of Donald Trump are doing nothing to ease the discomfort of the voters. Some analysts say the former president is darkening what is already the most dystopian closing argument in modern American history. Just like he did in 2020, Trump is already laying the groundwork to create doubts about the integrity of the election by hurling allegations that Democrats are cheating without offering any proof to back his claims. While Vice President Kamala Harris has repeatedly warned about the perils of a second Trump term, she has also sought to invoke optimism about the future of the country as she lays claim to a new generation of leadership in America. Contrast this with what Donald Trump told his supporters on Sunday. While addressing a rally in the battleground state of Pennsylvania, Trump said he regrets leaving the White House in 2021. Why? Because he claims, till date, that the Democrats stole the election from him and that it was he who had won in 2020 and not Joe Biden. Never mind the fact that every single inquiry and court that this matter went to dismissed Trump's claims as baseless, and there is a pending case against Trump for trying to overturn the 2020 election through fraudulent means and outright lies and undermining the US Constitution by preventing the smooth and peaceful transfer of power. But facts don't really seem to matter much to Donald Trump or his hardcore supporters, who continue to propagate their false propaganda even 4 years later. At this particular rally in the must-win battleground state of Pennsylvania on Sunday, the former president told his supporters that Democrats are fighting so hard to steal this damn thing and that voting machines would be tampered with. He also said he should not have left the White House in 2021 after losing the 2020 election. He described Democrats as demonic, complained about a new poll that shows him no longer leading in Iowa, a state that he twice carried, and said he would not mind if a gunman aiming at him also shot through the fake news. Trump spent much of his speech pushing unfounded claims of cheating by Democrats in the 2024 election and sowing doubts about its integrity, as polls show him and Vice President Kamala Harris deadlocked nationally. He ranted about alleged election interference this year and lamented his departure from office after losing to Joe Biden 4 years ago. It was a rare public admission of regret over participating in the transfer of power after he had incited his supporters to violently storm the US Capitol on 6 January 2021 as he tried to subvert the results of the 2020 election that he had lost, but refused to concede, something that Trump is currently facing federal charges over, as we just mentioned. The Iowa poll that shows Harris taking the lead has left Trump fuming. According to reports, Trump told his campaign that the poll should never have been released. Trump's advisors then tried to assure him that the survey was not accurate. Trump stirred yet another controversy when he said, "To get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news, and I don't mind that so much." A Trump campaign spokesperson later said that the former president was actually musing about how the press was protecting him. Analysts say the former president's newest round of threats cap off a campaign with one of the darkest, most menacing closing messages in modern American history. In the last few weeks alone, Trump has doubled down on a pledge to use the military to combat the civilian enemy within, and mused about how former Representative Liz Cheney, one of his loudest conservative Republican critics, would fare with guns trained on her face in a war zone. And that's not all. Trump's dog whistles have only got worse, and his political rhetoric and personal attacks have been absolutely crass, distasteful, and appalling. On Saturday night in North Carolina, Trump chuckled approvingly at an audience member's suggestion that Vice President Harris worked as a sex worker at the start of her career. One of his supporters shouted, "She worked on a corner." Trump laughed, paused, then declared, "This place is amazing." As the crowd laughed, he added, "Just remember, it's other people saying it, it's not me." Trump's response to the crude remark about his political opponent underscores how the rotten American political discourse went into overdrive after Trump's arrival on the presidential campaign trail back in 2015. Recent polls have shown the former president trailing Harris with female voters by a significant margin across demographic lines. What has been the response of the Trump campaign? Well, they're urging more men to vote. Remember, Trump has also vowed revenge on his opponents and critics. Kamala Harris recently told his supporters in Washington, D.C., and I quote, "On day one, if elected, Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. When elected, I will walk in with a to-do list full of priorities on what I will get done for the American people." Today is the last day of campaigning. Trump is busy wooing voters in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, which could end up deciding who wins this election, and finally Michigan, all swing states. Harris, who held a final Michigan rally on Sunday, is spending Monday in Pennsylvania, including a big finish in Philadelphia with Lady Gaga and Oprah Winfrey. If Trump wins the Tuesday election, he will be only the second president in US history to win a non-consecutive term. He will complete one of the most staggering political comebacks ever after trying to torch democracy to stay in power after the 2020 election, being convicted of a crime and escaping 2 attempts on his life this year. Harris, on the other hand, could shatter the line of nearly 250 years of male commanders-in-chief and become the first female president of the United States of America. It would be a stunning feat after she unified the demoralized Democratic Party in July when President Biden's re-election bid was destroyed by the ravages of age. Americans are about to make their choice now. Is it going to be Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?